record. All right, there we go. And what is this all about? There's like a little green icon up here I've never seen before. Okay. All right. So I added on a challenge for you guys, anybody who wants to participate, and it's a time tracking challenge. Now, the reason I added this on is because I have a I have a group program called the Society of Business Witchery, and in there we have group calls where people can pick my brain, right? And something that happens a lot is people just losing time and being like, I don't know what happened. I just lost the time to do these things. And I have been reading a bunch of books recently on successful women in particular, and what successful women, and I am a mom. I'm a mom of 2 little kids. So anybody here who doesn't know that about me, I'll tell you now, I have a 2-year-old and almost 5-year-old, and she'll be 5 on Saturday. And I'm a business owner, obviously. So I've been reading specifically about women business owners who make over $100,000 per year and who have at least 1 kid home under the age of 18. And I've been reading a lot about how women manage their time. And it's been really comforting to me because I find I do a lot of the things that are already listed in these books, like all the tips and tricks, I'm doing most of them. So when I realized that, because people ask me all the time how I get so much done, and I'm like, well, just, be intentional, focused. You probably waste more time than you think. Anyway, it got me thinking, let's do a time tracking challenge. Let's totally add it on, totally optional. In the email I sent out overnight last night, there is this printable for you. You can totally just do this in a journal. You can do it in notes in your phone. But the only way it's really going to work, though, is if you're very intentional about tracking your time and not guessing what you did. So as you can see, I've been filling mine out all day today. I woke up, the first thing I did, I woke up around 6. Didn't get out of bed though at 6. So I woke up around 6 and I've been filling it out. You can see I have had a very busy day. And I've been writing out every half an hour increment what I've been doing. Now I do, I haven't just been sitting there writing it. I'll walk by the kitchen counter and write down like what we did in the last 30 minutes or something. But many of these studies, and again, we'll get into the lesson, what you're actually here for, but this is a total surprise, and I think possibly even more valuable than what I'm actually going to tell you about. But many of these studies found that people, not even women, men, anybody, most people overestimate the amount they work in a week by up to like 20%. They actually work less than they think they do. People will be like, oh, I work like 60 hours a week, which might be different if you're a time clock employee, but if you're a desk employee or you're self-employed, people find they overestimate how much they work and they underestimate how much free time they have. And I get challenged on this a lot. I'll tell people how much I work in a week, how many hours. And people tell me all the time, no, you probably work a lot more than that. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think I definitely work typically under 30 hours a week. And I feel it when I work more. So anyway, I totally challenge you to do this. As we get further in the week, probably on Thursday, I will tell you how to, at the end of the week, after Sunday, you can submit this if you fill out the whole thing. It is 2 pages if you print it out. And then I'll pick 3 people that fill the whole thing out to win some kind of Sisters Enchanted prize. All right, so now that that's out of the way, that's what that's for. Track your time. Totally a different challenge, but I think very meaningful and important. So let me share my screen. We'll get on with it, and I'll tell you who I am and what we're here for. And I just got to find the correct thing here before I go sharing craziness. All right, there we are. Share the screen. Okay, so 5 mistakes that business owners make. Oh, where'd my chat go? That business owners make. Hi, Ellie. That prevent progress in their businesses. All right, so some of you may have heard this presentation before. If so, I always have new ideas and things, so hang out and feel free to chat in the comments and I'll check in and out of those as well. So who am I if you're new here? Because I see a lot of familiar faces. But if you are new, because I know we had about 300 new people to us register for this, I am Sarah. I'm the founder and head magic maker at the Sisters Enchanted, which is my home base. We create community, teach magical courses, have fun live events. And I'm the former owner of Shoreline Academic Coaching. I have 15, actually more like 16 years of marketing experience now. I was trained by some of the best here in the US, one of the or the country's top candy manufacturer, actually. Interesting. We have 35,000 email subscribers at the Sisters Enchanted. Why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that to show that I have tried lots of online marketing strategies. So I do know what I'm talking about. In 2018, we doubled our 2017 revenue. And with all this information, and due to popular demand from the community at the Sisters Enchanted, I started a business witchery class, which has transformed into the Society of Business Witchery, which you can always learn about and join us in there. If you do decide to join us in the Society of Business Witchery, I send everybody one of these cool Boss Witch cups, which I have actual cups. I don't know why I have this graphic still up there. And we do prizes and giveaways for doing things. Last month, anybody who created their content plan, I sent them a little 10 by 10 letter board that they could use for social media. So we do cool giveaways, not every month, but and you know, opportunities to stay involved. So why are we talking about this? 5 things business owners do to prevent success, because these are things that everybody does at some point in time or to some level. And if you can get past these 5 things and get out of your own way, you are going to find that life becomes far easier in your business building. But I see almost everybody get stuck in these in some way, shape, or form. What to do with this information: use it, apply it, take some notes, and act on it. If you don't act on it, then it's really for nothing, much like anything else that you learn, right? Okay, so the number one thing that people do, business owners do, that makes them not make progress, it keeps them from making progress, that's what I'm trying to say. They strive for perfection. They want everything to be perfect. And striving for perfection is such a waste of time. Like, I can't even say it loud enough that it is a waste of time to try and be perfect. You're never going to be perfect. There's always going to be some typo, some error, some graphic error, something, whatever. Now, this isn't to say that you should just scribble some stuff in crayon, throw it out in the world, and hope somebody buys it. But at some point, we have to move forward. And if we keep holding back because we're waiting for the exact perfect website, or we're waiting for the exact perfect amount of people or something like that, we're losing time and we're losing opportunity. So we need to, at some point, just say, you know what, done is good enough for me right now. I'm going to put it out there, see what happens, and I'm going to pivot and tweak as I go. That is I'm a huge proponent of doing something before you think it's ready or before you're ready, and then making it better over time. Adding to it, adjusting, getting things out there. You've probably heard that before. Done is better than perfect. That's totally a thing. And it is a true thing. It's usually your own stuff, your own insecurities that are getting in the way when we're waiting for something to be the right thing. So if we are afraid to sell a physical product or a service, if you're like a yoga teacher or a massage therapist or something, you're like, well, I just haven't done it enough. I'm just not sure. I need to practice more. That's typically your own stuff, that's getting in the way there, creating this idea of perfectionism and it needs to be better, and not the actual person receiving it. And if you do feel that way about whatever your service or product is, then there are ways to still sell something without it being perfect. We can have testers, we can have a lower price intro offer. There's so many ways to keep moving before something is perfect. And people don't relate to perfect. People see these Instagram staged photos, and they don't see themselves in that. That brings up feelings of jealousy, resentment. It does not bring up joyous, happy feelings of people to want to be with you. And actually, a lot of marketing research is showing now that those Instagram picture perfect settings and scenes, that people are spending more time looking at Instagram grids or whatever you call them is it like a page, or I don't even know what it's called, but someone's Instagram profile, I guess, with all their whole grid there. People are spending more time on ones that aren't staged. And people that were previously paid as influencers to do these staged photos all the time, yes, it's still working for them. They're still making loads of money, of course. People are actually spending less time consuming information there. So something to bear in mind. People do not relate to perfect, and people are really waking up to that. And if you never learn, you never grow. So by putting something out into the world that's not perfect, that is how you learn, and that's how you grow, and that's how you get better for next time. So that's like one of the top things I see is people will tell me, I'm still working on my About Me page on my website. It's just not quite ready yet. I'm still tweaking my ebook, like all this craziness. I'm like, just get something out there, or people are like, I didn't write the class yet, or I didn't, my office space isn't totally set up. Just do the best you can and then make it better as you go. But while you're just sitting around trying to make things perfect, you're just wasting time. You're wasting time that you could be using to grow an audience, to get feedback, to validate your offering, and to find out what you need to do better to make more money. All right, the number 2 thing that people do that makes them fail at business is assume. Now, you know what happens when we assume, right? And it's no different here in business. When we assume, we run the risk of, again, wasting time and creating something that nobody wants, or setting up an offer that there's not a market for. If you're an in-person sort of offer, if you have a physical goods shop, if you're a service provider, we should not assume. So not everybody thinks like you. Spoiler alert, not everyone thinks like you. People are their own unique beings, their own unique thoughts, and they are always, 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 always going to tell you what they need. But often we hear like what we want to hear, and we take what we want to take from that, and we don't deliver what people actually need and what they actually want, because we're so stuck on what we think they need, what we think they want, and we want to be right, and we have this thing, and that is not going to be helpful to you, and that's more time wasted. So you need to validate, and validate your ideas, whether you're a lawyer, or you're a Reiki practitioner, or you sell online witchery classes like I do. Whatever it is that you do, you need to validate your ideas and not assume that people actually want them. And I see this as a big roadblock for a lot of people. So they'll spend a lot of time creating this, line of products, or this service, or they'll put together like a whole bundle of services or something, and then nobody buys it. And we realize later, like, oh, well, they really want this kind of thing that's missing the mark a little bit. So assuming is another thing that business owners do to prevent progress and success. The third thing business owners do to prevent progress and success is not networking. And actually, I think I said number 1 with perfectionism was like the top thing. I take that back. This is definitely the top thing. Social media is not equal to easier. I think that there is this idea that because we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we can start a Facebook page or an Instagram page and we're going to have a business. And that is not at all how this works. It is not easier. And in fact, every single day, every minute of every day, it is getting more and more difficult to have a social media-based business. Just this year, rolling out later this year, there's going to be all new Facebook ads, filters and things that are going to be put on, which is going to make it that much more difficult to target your target audience in advertising. The Facebook bot is currently, it's always been checking for text and posts that says things like, click this link, that Facebook algorithm bot has been searching for that for a while now. Well, that bot now does that in voice as well. So when we tell people, click here, go here, take this action, it's now voice scanning to hear what we're saying. So social media is not making it easier to have a business. On some levels, I suppose it is, because it's allowing us to build an audience through things like advertising. But good old-fashioned networking is still the hottest thing that you can do, and it's free. Talking to people and talking to people outside of your circle. This is something I see a lot in my Sisters Enchanted community, as it's the same people that are sharing each other's work, and it's this one like circle of Sisters Enchanted people, which works because the Sisters Enchanted is a huge community. It's got a very broad reach. So it is working for them. But really, at some point, you have to step outside of your bubble and you need to search out other business owners that are similar to you. They serve a similar audience. There may be a cousin business to you. For example, if you make your own, incense, somebody who sells crystals, they probably have a similar sort of audience, like a metaphysical sort of purchasing audience. Or if you sell, we had somebody in our last business witchery class that made products for pets. If you sell pet products like collars and leashes and things like that, then somebody who is a pet trainer, like that would be somebody you'd reach out to. So we need to broaden our network and start talking to people and collaborating and sharing and working together. Old-fashioned networking, what would you do before you had social media? You'd probably get out and talk to people. You'd probably join the Chamber of Commerce. You'd probably go to women's networking events. We need to still do these things and not be afraid of other people. And you need to pitch way more than you think that you need to. So if you ask 10 people to feature you on their podcast or a blog, you'll be lucky if one person says yes. So you got to keep a comprehensive list of how to reach out to people, who to reach out to, and keep getting yourself out there, particularly if you don't want to spend money on advertising. If you don't want to spend money on advertising, you should be spending, I would say at least 10 hours a week on networking if you want to have a successful business. It's that important. And you trade time or you trade dollars, right? And in this, if we're doing networking, we're trading time. But even if you're trading dollars for ads, you still need to be networking. Maybe just not 10 hours a week worth. But if you don't want to spend money on ads, networking should be like the top of the list of things that you do. And so many people don't do it. They don't want to do it. A lot of people that come to me are very introverted and don't like to talk to people. And I totally get it. Like, people give me so much social anxiety. But the other thing that gives me anxiety is not being able to support my family. So I have to take a deep breath and do the networking that I need to do, right? A frog in my throat. All right, so not networking. That's the third thing. And just sort of check in and make sure that everybody's doing okay here. Oh, let's see here. So we do have a comment from Christina, and we'll get back to it. So Christina says, that's my biggest problem. A lot of empty promises of people going to feature me. I'm doing good here on Staten Island, local metaphysical shops selling my products, but online isn't going anywhere. Yeah, so when you're looking for networking opportunities online, you definitely want it to be a reciprocal relationship, which is hard when you are starting out. So if you don't have a big following, it can be hard to find people who will feature you, right? So some ways around that are getting the physical product to the person. But in that case, you want them to be a reputable business, right? So you're not just like sending something out somewhere that's not ever going to get seen by anybody. And how can you tell if somebody is a reputable business? If they have a website, firstly, if they have a website, if they have a solid and active social media following. And then you can look for people that have sort of a system in place for this. So somebody who says, if somebody's like, oh yeah, just DM me and we'll work it out, that's pretty willy-nilly, and that kind of is a red flag to me if they have a lot of time on their hands. So if somebody ever tells me, oh yeah, DM me and we'll work it out, I'm always like, oh, well, you probably don't have, your business is, either you have a very good assistant, and in which case people usually say, well, DM me and my assistant will get back to you. But if somebody just says, DM me and we'll work it out, that tells me that they are not super busy, because if they have time to go through DMs and work something out, they're not super busy, which is fine if you're just starting out. But if you're just starting out and you want to be featured somewhere or collaborate with somebody who has a stronger business, then that's a kind of a thing you want to look out for, is like, how are they communicating with you? Do they want you to email? Do they want to set up a Zoom chat? Everybody that I work with or collaborate with, we have a Zoom meeting first. We talk to each other and we're like, what are your goals for your business? What's your audience like? What's your audience demographic? And we compare, we contrast, and see if it's a good fit. And so those are the steps we take to make sure that when we're networking in the right places that are actually going to come through for us. So Christina, look out for those things and look for opportunities with people that have what am I trying to say? That have businesses that have clearly made some traction, and see how you can be of use to to those businesses. And if you're, so like Christina, I know is physical products, but also does Reiki healing. I know Christina. And if anybody else has any questions or comments, definitely let me know. But so Christina, something for you, like you make those cool crystal trees, and somebody's community, that somebody who doesn't do, maybe like a tarot person or something, you could do a feature for them talking about like how different metaphysical tools can enhance their tarot reading space, or how to create a tarot reading space or something like that. So go to people with an idea of how you can be of service to them. And again, look for these kind of red flags from people. A person who is successful in business and who is generating income regularly, they probably don't have time to sort out these things in a direct message conversation with you. And honestly, if anybody reaches out to me through a direct message and they are like, hey, you want to collaborate? They just don't get an answer. If they email us, then it kind of gets filtered through a process, and we set up a Zoom call. And if it seems like, and if they don't show up to the Zoom call, then they definitely, that's like a hard no. And yeah, and that's just kind of the standard now. Anybody, we talk, we compare information, we talk about like what's our next quarter goals, how we can fit things in, and move forward that way. And that's good. A tip for you too, if you are a new business owner and you're trying to pitch to somebody who's clearly more established than you, go in thinking like a more established business owner, like go in with your third quarter. Well, we're in the third quarter. Go in with your fourth quarter plan and be like, these are my goals for the fourth quarter. I'm offering this, this, and this. I have time right here, and I would love to do something with you. And think bigger than you are, and so that you go in speaking that person's language as well. Hello, Annalise. Christina says, that's how I ended up on the shop in Staten Island. Personal friends of mine and my Reiki teachers, the shaman I'm learning from, trees were something added to the awesomeness of their service, and they sell them as altar pieces. Yeah, exactly. So I think that, I think you can do the same things online. It's just about finding the right people. There's so many online business owners, and you don't want to waste time. I think there's a tendency to want to like reach out to people that seem like they're either in your direct circle somehow, or that do things really similar to you. And I would suggest, aiming a little higher, like not so super high that this person's like got like 30,000 followers if you have none, but like aim higher than you, but come to the table with what your offer is, and speak their language, try to set it up as a professional like situation. Okay, so let's get back then. And again, you guys, there's I think a bunch of new faces here. I'm just scrolling through the names, definitely some new faces. So feel free to say hello, or let me know if you have any questions. I love to answer questions and chat and brainstorm ideas. All right, let's get back to this. Okay, so yeah, networking. People don't want to network, and I get it. It's scary and hard, but you really have to do it. Hi, Beth. Okay, so the fourth thing is being stingy. Now, believe me, I know what it's like to be broke, and I'm not just saying that to like try to seem relatable. I know when I started the Sisters Enchanted, we literally just had enough money. Well, so we weren't so broke that we couldn't like live. We had food on the table, but I had to make a grocery plan every week. I couldn't go there and just buy the bag of cookies if I wanted to, because if it wasn't in the budget, it wasn't in the budget. And there was no like extra money. There wasn't, let's go on vacation, let's whatever. If there was an incident or a medical bill or a car thing, it was panic inducing. And we were like, oh no, what are we going to do? Now, I've been self-employed for quite some time now, and my husband, he's currently a stay-at-home dad, but he was previously self-employed. So as self-employed people, we always did have the luxury of just being like, oh, I guess I'll look for more work. I'll take on more work. And that's how we would get through those problems. But neither of us made a super ton of money. And when the Sisters Enchanted started, my daughter was a little over 18 months old, and her birth cost us $21,000 out of pocket. So we were struggling to pay those medical bills down. I had to replace my car, and I barely had any money to spare. But if you don't think you have $20 to spare when you're starting a business, you need to find it. Time definitely equals money. And think about all the time you spend saving money that could be spent on making money. So for me, for us, I scrounged up about $100 a month to spend on Facebook ads for about 3 months. I actually didn't tell my husband about it because he would have been like, no, you can't, no, don't do that. And the first month I lost money. The second month, I think I just barely scraped back my $100, worked my butt off to do it. The third month, I think broke even, but it was easier. And it was about, 4 to 6 months in that I actually started to be like, whoa, I'm making money. And it was at the 6-month mark before I was like breathing easy, like, wow, I got this, I can do this. But I hustled my butt off to earn that money back because we didn't have it to spare. So I spent that $100 on ads and stayed up like all night long working to make sure I made it back. But that's the fourth thing, is being stingy. People will be like, I can't spend this money to build my audience. I can't spend this money to have a video transcribed. I can't spend this money to buy this thing I need to get my products off the ground. And if you're a physical product person in particular, you have to have the money to buy the stuff, right, that you're going to sell. And in which case you can do things about that. You can pre-sell, you can take custom orders, get the money in first, as long as you deliver on it, obviously. But you got to figure out a way to sock some money aside, do some extra work, do some work you're not super pumped about, do some side work to get your business rolling. So being stingy, I think it's probably kind of a harsh thing to say, but it is definitely something that prevents business owners from making progress. I actually see it in my own circle of business owners that I speak to, like about my business, and we bounce ideas off each other. People all the time that are like, oh, I can't possibly hire a virtual assistant for like $200 a week. There's no way I could do it. And I'm like, but the amount of time you're spending answering emails and fielding tech problems, if it's $200 a week, you could probably easily turn like $500 on the time saved from having somebody else do that for you. And you can do that if you don't have the capacity to have an assistant or something like that, by using services like transcription services, using Fiverr to get graphics made, or video podcast intros, or like whatever. You can find people that will do a one-off job for you for practically no money anywhere on the internet, and save yourself the time and hassle of doing some things yourself. The same goes with getting just help in any area that you need it in business. If you really want to make traction and move forward quickly, you've got to put some money into it, because you only have so much time. And if you're watching this and you're a person who works a full-time job or a part-time job, and you're trying to get your business off the ground, it's even more important that your time is dialed in to exactly where it needs to be, which is part of the reason why I suggested the time tracking challenge for the week. Because when we're spending time doing things that aren't making us money, aren't moving us forward, and aren't making us traction, we're really losing money. Our time is, time and money, I guess some will say they're both infinite, and I suppose in some ways they are. But at the end of the day, when you need to pay your electric bill tomorrow and you only have so many hours to work on your business, you've got to be able to trade for something to get yourself moving faster. So think about it. How can I get an extra $20 to have the person on Fiverr do this project for me? How can I get $50 to put into a Facebook ad? And to be quite honest with Facebook ads, it's kind of a poor example, because I would say that personally, I would not really recommend doing them unless you had a few $100s to actually test and see how it's working. But you can start testing with $50. So get some money aside to start doing these things and start moving your business forward. Or if you're a local business, you own like I keep thinking like yoga studios, but if you have like a shop space, something like that, Google ads are great. But all these things, they take money, and they take time and effort and practice. So you got to have enough money to be able to put it out there, see what happens, and do your best at it. So that's the number 4 thing, though, is it does take time or money, and we can't all live without sleep. So you're going to need some money to get your business rolling. And then the 5th thing people do, I call this ping-ponging. So people just jump from thing to thing. They're like, oh, thing 1 didn't work. I'm going to try thing 2. That didn't work. I'm going to try thing 3. And they just jump from thing to thing. And just because something 1 didn't work, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It means maybe your audience isn't the right audience. Maybe your marketing was off. Maybe you need to expand on the service or make it smaller. There's ways we can look at it. But when you jump from like this to this to this, and I see this so much online, where there's people that are like, oh, I'm a life coach. Then they're like, oh, I'm a money coach. I'm a who knows whatever I am today, but they don't make money on the first thing. So they keep changing what they do like every other day or like having different things. You got to pick your thing and see it through, give it a good college try. And see it through. And just because somebody else is making money on it doesn't mean that you should do it. And this is the other part of that ping ponging is you try something that doesn't work, but you see somebody else doing this other thing and you see them having success. So then you jump into it and you start doing it, right? Just because they are does not mean that you should. You got to get clear on what you're awesome at and stick to it. I'll give this example. So my friend, Michelle of the Rock Cellar, she is a Sisters Enchanted community member. She is kicking butt with her online-based crystal business. So she's doing an amazing job. And, you could look at that and think like, oh, well, she's doing so well. I could do that too. And I look at that though, and I think, why would I pivot my focus to a different business like that when I know that I don't like handling physical goods? It's time consuming, it takes up space, and I just don't have it in me, but I can stay in my lane and do this one thing really well. But so many people see what other people are doing that they like switch, drop everything and go do it. So figure out what you're awesome at and stick to it and just learn what you need to do along the way to make it work for you. All right, let's see here if anybody has, I do see a comment. So let me just, what'd I do? Oh, goodness, I lost our screen. There it is, okay. So Danielle says, I make my own bath salts, scrubs, and oils for all occasions, but mainly focus on lunar cycles. And I have a chance to sell at local psychic fairs. This is a good way to network. Yeah, local psychic fairs are awesome ways to network. We're actually, well, I don't know if I'm going to fully participate, but Anna, my sister who works at the Sisters Enchanted with me, and Nick, our astrologer, they are doing a big psychic fair at one of the casinos here in about a month. It's a great way to network, psychic fairs. Make sure, so when you do in-person events, I always like to remind people to have all your ducks in a row. So make sure you bring some kind of offer to encourage people to buy again next time. So if you're selling at the psychic fair, make sure they have a flyer or something that they can take home with them that says like, so if the psychic fair is in July, they have a flyer maybe for like a free salt sample or something with purchase in August, or like a flyer that's like back to school time, take care of yourself also. Here's 10% off in September. So plan ahead and give people a reason to come back to you. When you're selling online, if you sell online, and a way to collect email addresses of people that stop by your booth or your table so you can communicate with them going forward. A big mistake I see people make all the time, and this should actually be on this list now that I'm talking about it, is not collecting email addresses. Your email list is basically the worth of your business, which is why I start this by saying one of the things about me is that we have this email list of 35,000 people. Notice I don't tell you, I mean, I can tell you, we proudly make multiple 6 figures in a year now, but our email list is so super important that it's an asset of your business. If you have your business ever evaluated, that's an asset that goes with your business, because that's how we communicate with people. It's still the number one way to market. It's still the number one way to communicate with people is through email. We don't own our social media. We don't own our Facebook Messenger. We do own our email list. So it's so important. So when you go to the psychic fair, make sure you have a place, even if it's just pen and paper, to collect email addresses from people so you can contact them afterward. Super important. But yeah, that's a great way to network. And also go there with a plan in mind, thinking like, okay, so I do all these bath products. How can I work with other people here? Like, can we do Like keep your eyes out. Is there a tarot card reader, or is there an astrologer or a medium or something? Is there like a way that you guys can get together and host a girls' night event or something like that? Like keep your eyes open to business networking opportunities while you're there to get out of your bubble of people and grow and put on a cool event in the future. All right. Okay, let's see here. So let's recap what we're doing. View. Okay, so to recap, perfection, stop it. Nobody's perfect. Get it out there before you're ready, and you will learn from it, I promise. 2, don't assume you know what people want. Just ask them. Just ask, what do you want? What would you like to learn? I do this all the time. I ask people, like right now in one of our programs, we're doing 3 months of psychic skills. And I literally said, what do you guys want to learn? And then I took all of those comments and turned it in to 13 weekly lessons. Just ask and then do what people want, what they need, right? Network. Clean yourself up, put on your most presentable attire, and go talk to some people. Even if your most presentable attire is your witch gear, like mine often is. Go talk to some people, and get out there and talk to people in your audience too. If you have a small audience or a big audience, whatever size your audience is, get on a video with them, a video chat, and ask them, like, what are you up to? And that's part of that assuming. What do you need to learn about? What are some problems you're facing? And then if you know if there's other business owners that have stumbled into your audience or you've connected with, get on a Zoom call with them and brainstorm. Is there a way that we can help each other out? Do we know anybody else we can bring into this circle? Create yourself a little network of people that you speak to regularly. That's something that I am part of a business mastermind myself, but something that we're working on is actually creating a peer-led group where we can all get together and share and promote each other and chat. So we're pretty excited about that. Being stingy. Find the money, plan what you're going to do with it, and then grow that money investment into something bigger and awesome so you can put more money in next time. And then ping-ponging. Don't do it. Focus, focus, focus. When you know what your thing is, stick with it. Be consistent. Just because you offer something nobody buys, it does not mean that nobody wants it. It could mean a lot of things. I mean, it could mean nobody wants it, but chances are there's somebody. We need to figure out who your audience was. We need to figure out what the marketing was like around it. If your marketing was clear, if your sales pitch was any good. And it could be just a people problem. A lot of the time people will offer a product and have no email list. And then they're like, well, I have like 20 people, but nobody bought. I'm like, well, that's why I can only have 20 people. The average conversion is like 1 to 2%. So just there, inherently, you need at least 100 people watching before even one will buy from you. So we need to focus and be consistent and stop ping-ponging. All right, so if all this sounds really awesome, I did mention in the beginning, we do have the Society of Business Witchery. I'll just close this. We have the Society of Business Witchery, which you can join if you'd like. And we have an option still to join us in Florida in November for a few days retreat right on the beach, where I'm going to feed everybody and help you plan for the next year. And yeah, we're doing Facebook ads. What are we doing this month? That's my launch planner, like how I plan for a launch. Facebook ads, like a map, and then a launch debrief. That was the theme this month. There's different themes every month. What did we do last month? Oh, last month was content creation. And that's where they had a contest, and anybody who made their content plan, I sent out one of those felt letter boards as a prize. So that was pretty cool, seeing everybody make their content for a whole month. Following up on it was their next, so I was like, now you got to follow through. But it was cool that they did it. Okay, so we have time. If anybody wants to ask any questions about any of this or has some ideas, we're going to have another chat coming up on Thursday. We're going to talk about the 3 things I did to grow a 6-figure business pretty quickly. And I'll circle back to the time tracker. So this was, if you came in later, this was in a random idea that I had. I've been doing a lot of reading around how successful women or women who make over $100,000 a year, how they spend their time. Because I'm constantly thinking I'm doing something wrong. Like, why am I Like, where's my time going? But I also get feedback from people. They can't believe how much I accomplish in a week. So I'm reading these books and I'm like, all right, no, I think I am doing a lot of this. And it's going to be one of the things we talk about in our Society of Business Witchery in another month's topic. But it made me think it's so important. So this week, you have the additional challenge if you want to participate, whether you're new here or been around for a while, to track your time for an entire week. And then closer to the end of the week, I'll give you instructions on how you can submit these if you want to be entered to win a prize. So all you got to do is track, and I'll pick 3 people who enter at the end of the week to win a prize. Yeah. And that's it. Oh, Ashley wants to know 1 or 2 of the books. So one of the books, I don't remember the title. I took it out from the library, to be honest. I don't remember what it was called, but I skimmed it and did not love it. The other one, I think is right. Hold on. Let me see if it's right over here. I don't see it, but I believe it's called I Know How She Does It. And it's got that, the like war woman on it and the red thing, and she like this, that the cover looks like that. And it says, I know how she does it, how successful women spend their time. And that's what got me on the time tracking, because in that book, she did research where she had women who made over $100,000 a year and had at least one person under the age of 18 living at home. And she had them track their time and submit it. And there's tons of research, even not in that book, but about men and women that show that all people who work typically overestimate the hours that they work by like a lot. So people will say, oh, I did a 50-hour work week, but they probably did not. And actually, since the 70s, people are working less. So the average full-time woman, I think, the average full-time woman that makes over $100,000 a year only works 44 hours per week. And then the average full-time woman who made under $100,000 per year, her work time only came to be about 34 hours. And that tended to be because of things like, while that person maybe had to work like 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, there were always days where they were like at a dentist appointment, or they had to leave to take their kids somewhere, or there was a snow day and they got to work 3 hours late or something like that. So these people were actually only logging 30-something hours. And then people that made $100,000 or more were logging only 44 hours, which one would think would be a lot more than that. And I get this question a lot where people say, well, how much, you must work all the time. And I'm like, no, I don't usually work over 30 hours a week. Typically I don't. And people will say, no, I know you've got to work more than that. And I'm like, I really don't. I'm very intentional with my time. And that's what this book showed, is that it's really just about intentional use of one's time. And also letting go in areas, which is something that I talked about this recently, I think on a Facebook Live last week or so, but having to kind of let go of some things, right? So for me, my house is like never super clean. And I would never just be like, oh, hey, come to my house, because I feel like crap, we need like 4 hours to clean first. But that's the thing that goes by the wayside for us. I actually did spend time cleaning today. I'll tell you straight from the mouth of a person who has grown a multi-6-figure business, how I spent my morning. Stephanie says, I went from 60 hours to my actual 40 hours, maybe a few more. Huge difference from being in leadership to staff. Yeah, and Stephanie I know is was in a managerial role in a nursing career. So some people, if you're like clocking your time, you know how many hours you work. But this book looked at people, like me, or people that had like office desk jobs, that kind of didn't have to really be in a specific place at a specific time. So my day so far today, I woke up at 6, but I kind of floated back to sleep a little bit. At 6:30, my little guy, who is going to be breastfeeding until he's married probably, he woke up and was clawing at me. So I nursed him, snuggled my 5-year-old, and I laid in bed at 6:30 in the morning looking at the Amazon Prime deals. I'm not going to lie. We were out of bed at 7, a little before, 6:55. I fed the kids. I fed the cats, changed my kid's diaper. And my son's totally addicted. My daughter was totally not like that. So 7 a.m., I fed the kids, fed the cats, help my daughter get situated for the day, change my kid's diaper. By 7:30, I was exercising. I only exercised for 10 minutes. I don't exercise much, but I've gained like 10 pounds, and I made it like 10 minutes into this hardcore exercise video. I don't know what I was thinking, but I did that for 10 minutes. I showered, and then I worked for about 10 minutes. I just like checked in with the team. We have like a channel we talk on. I checked in with them. That was about 10 minutes. At 8, I started working on unpacking because we've been away since July 3rd, evening. We just got home yesterday. So I worked on unpacking some stuff, and I helped my kids with Play-Doh and get that sorted so they could play some Play-Doh. So that was about 8 to like 8:45, I'd say. Then we called my grandparents on FaceTime. We called them every day. We talked to them for about 10 minutes. By 9 a.m., we were putting the toys away. They had toys all over the living room. We were putting toys away, cleaning up the Play-Doh. 9:30 a.m., we were outside with the kids having a snack, or I was outside with the kids having a snack. And I wrote down work for about 10 minutes. It seems like I wasn't working this morning, but my whole team was, and everybody was like, Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. So about 10 minutes, I answered their questions. By 10 a.m., I went inside. I have 2 cats and 3 cat litter boxes. I scooped one of the cat litter boxes, got the crock pot out, threw some frozen chicken in there, worked for about another 10 minutes answering people's questions and putting out fires, and then was back outside by 10:30 with the kids. They were locked up on my deck in the meantime. They couldn't escape. 10:30, I had to wrangle my kids because they were not getting along. They got into a big fight that involved headbutting and hair pulling. It was very frustrating. And then I laid my little guy down for an early nap because I think he was way overtired. My 5-year-old, she is sensory sensitive, so I made her sit down with me to calm down. And I checked emails for 10 minutes while they were getting calm. At 11, I straightened out my hair a little bit, put on some mascara, ate some food. I read 2 books to my daughter. At 11:35, my babysitter showed up for the day. My husband's usually home, but he had to mow his mom's lawn today, so he's off doing that. My babysitter showed up, so I settled the kids so from 11:30 till 12 when this started, I settled the kids with the sitter. I did some banking. I did deposit some checks, and we have a weekly check-in that everybody has to do here at Sisters Enchanted who works here, and say like what they did last week, what they're doing this week. And I did that in like the 4 minutes leading up to hitting go on this. So my morning was, that's like a typical day for me though, actually. That's pretty much what I do. I just go. And as soon as we end this, Anna's waiting outside my door. I see her out there. We have a meeting scheduled and some other stuff we have to do. So yeah, that's what my morning looks like. But you'll notice that there's little to no there's no dawdling around on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. Get on, get off. And LA says, same. My son still gets it and he's 3. My daughter, she weaned when she was 2.5. But I was pregnant with my son and nothing was really happening. And my son is totally not letting me go anytime soon. We're working on it. It's making it very hard for me to actually do anything with myself at night because he's so crazy. But anyway, I digress. Not really relevant. So today we talked about 5 things people do to prevent them from moving forward in business. Think about where you're doing any of those things, how you can pivot. And I challenge you to do the time tracker because I promise you that you have more time than you think you have. The other thing, after this week, you should do a money tracker because most people also have more money than they think they have. But that's a whole other discussion. But time certainly is a good place to start. So I challenge you to do that. Oh, so Annalise is asking, random question, what time do you go to bed? That's a good question. I would say that I'm usually asleep by midnight and I usually wake up around 6. Probably once a week, I try to be asleep by 11. This week, I have 2 evening work calls. One's a fun thing for the Enchanted Journey group, and one is a meeting I have to do at 9 p.m. at night, 2 nights a week. So by the time I get off of those at probably around 10, I'll probably work until midnight those 2 nights. I do work from, by the time my kids don't really fall asleep till close to 9 usually. And I typically work from 9 to 11, probably 4 nights a week. But I only schedule in about 24 hours of work time during the day in a week. So I work 3 full work days. Well, technically I work 8:30 to 5, 3 days a week. I typically don't get started until about 9, and I typically end around 4. And I also take a lunch break that I try to keep to a half an hour. Sometimes it goes a little longer. But so my scheduled work time is 24 hours a week. And then those 4 days I work about 2 hours a night, which brings me up to 32 hours. If I work all those hours, I get to 32. But like I said, I don't usually end up working 24 hours during the day or during the weekdays. So Annalise says, I need to do at least 8 hours. Yeah, no, I'm blessed that I don't need a ton of sleep. I can thrive on very little. So my kid, he still wakes up in the middle of the night too, screaming for me. So I usually wake up somewhere around like 3, deal with him, and then get back to bed. So I am super lucky about that. Some people do need more sleep. Like my husband, for example, it kills me how much sleep he needs. But he will become physically ill and cannot function if he does not get a full night's sleep. Anna just walked in the door. She's pointing to herself. And I'm just like, Energizer Bunny over here. But so that's a blessing for me. All right. So if you came on late, I'm going to upload the replay and send it out to you. And do your time thing, do your time tracking. And I'll pick 3 people to win a prize at the end of the week. I'll tell you later in the week how to submit it to. And on Thursday, we're going to come back together for another chat, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. And definitely feel free to ask questions, bounce ideas off me. I love brainstorming things. And if you have any questions at all about anything that I offer, like the Society of Business Witchery, which is really cool, definitely let me know about that. And otherwise, thank you guys for hanging with me, and I will see you all on Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern for our next part of the series. And I think that one's 3 things that I did to grow my business quickly. All right, so have a good rest of your day and happy time tracking. Good luck. May the odds be ever in your favor. Bye.